Hello, everyone. Benjamin Gottlieb here with Gottlieb Law. I'm here today to talk to you about a recent trend that has emerged in the real estate space since the NAR settlement went into effect back in August of 2024. And that trend is an increased rate of unrepresented buyers that exist in real estate transactions in today's world. Now, this trend is not necessarily unexpected, in as much as the primary purpose behind the NAR settlement was to provide greater transparency and competitiveness in the real estate transaction itself. Nevertheless, this trend does create more challenges and poses more risk to the listing agent and to sellers alike due to having to deal with an unrepresented buyer in the real estate transaction. And so we get a lot of questions from listing agents and sellers as to how best to navigate a transaction that involves an unrepresented buyer in order to minimize liability risk to the seller and listing agent while also facilitating and enhancing the chances of a successful transaction. So first and foremost, one of the most immediate consequences of dealing with an unrepresented buyer is that the listing agent is going to have to perform the lion's share of the work. There is no buyer agent, it is just the listing agent. And so the listing agent is going to have to provide forms, it's going to have to answer questions from the unrepresented buyer. Listing agent is going to have to facilitate an inspection of the property. Pretty much all of the work is going to be performed by the listing agent. This is really important because while the listing agent may inevitably have to perform a lot more work in the transaction, it is critically important that the listing agent avoid a situation where there may be what's called implied agency, or where the buyer may come to believe that the listing agent actually also represents the buyer, when in fact the listing agent only represents the seller. The listing agent owes the seller a fiduciary duty, but not the buyer. So this is critical that the listing agent conducts himself or herself in a way that makes this very clear. And to the extent that the listing agent is assisting the buyer, it is only as a courtesy on behalf of the listing agent's client to ensure that the transaction closes and is a successful transaction. It is not on behalf of the buyer. The listing agent does not owe a fiduciary obligation to the buyer, and if they want a representative. So that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.